Welcome back to another episode of Push to Accelerate. I'm FRiCK.
And I'm FRaCK.
And this is our beloved instructor, Mike M. And you're still not going to find out what the M stands for. But this is part 2 of our podcast with Mike. And last episode, we told you all of his amazing accomplishments in game development. And this episode, we are going to share those games with you. Right, FRaCK?
Yeah, that's right. There's some pretty cool games. Can't wait.
Do you think they're cool too, Mike?
Yes, I do.
All right,
He
so
also thinks he's very good at playing them, which I explained to him is because he made them, but, maybe he's just very good at playing them.
So what we'll do is we'll do them in chronological order, and we will do
That
it.
means like starting with A and then B and then C, right?
We won't do them in chronological order. We will do them in what
We're
would
gonna
you
do them
order
in
we call it?
alphabetical order.
No.
Chronological
Chronological.
order is by year.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have to confuse them. He was
I just
right the first time.
challenged his whole worldview. He was like, "What? What?"
You were right the first
So
time.
scratch that. We will do it in chronological order. I take what my instructor says very seriously, and I
Yeah, I'm
started.
sorry,
to
I
question
forgot I was
everything.
wielding the power of the instructor right now.
I thought all these teachers and professors that I've had in my life were wrong, but apparently they weren't. So we're going to
just this
start with, and we're going to start with Paranautical Activity, which is Mike's most popular, most successful, and most first game that he has ever created. Mike, before we play some gameplay, do you want to tell us a little bit about Paranautical Activity and the background?
I mean, it's really just kind of like a statement on like the human condition and the nature of our connections to other people. And it's just about how important it is to really just get in there and get to know someone on a really deep level. And then there's also some stuff in there about like shooting fish and stuff.
Just a little bit.
But the
yeah.
focus is about the human connections.
Absolutely. So let's show that off, and we are going to pull
That's the
up
vibe I get every time.
the video, and we are going to show it right here. This is
so
some
legit.
gameplay.
It's truly beautiful.
I've played this game before, and it's very difficult. I don't know how you beat the whole thing, Mike. How'd you do that?
He made
Well,
it.
most of the time when the enemies shoot at me, I tend to move out of the way. Same thing when an enemy chases me, actually. And then, sometimes I'll take an opportunity to shoot the enemies. It's kind of like a give and take thing.
We are dealing with Mr. Sarcastic today.
It's Friday,
this
man.
is a
It's
very-
been a long
He's
week.
not sarcastic.
This is a very, very fast-paced game. Was it more difficult to develop because of the pace of it, would you say? or?
Not necessarily the difficulty made it hard to develop, but the fact that all the levels are like randomly generated, which means like the game is different every time you play it, and the game kind of builds itself as you go. So it's cool because it's different every time, like from a player perspective, but from a development perspective, it can be really hard to test specific stuff.
Right.
Because if I add something to the game, I might add something to the game that has like a 1 in 300 chance of happening, and I like have to play a half hour of the game to even get to the part where it might happen. So like you have to either like put in a special cheat that makes it happen more often, or just grind the game until you make it happen. And then like when people have bugs that they experience and then they tell me about them, it can be really hard to figure out how to recreate it because so much of the game is random,
Right.
which can lead to like really obscure, hard to track problems.
It is very, very random. I've played it, as I said, and you go in one room, and sometimes the first room is extremely easy, and you breathe a sigh of relief, and then sometimes it's really challenging, and you can't even make it past it, especially if you're me and you're not.
He hasn't made it
not
past
used
the
to
first room.
But it's a really cool art style.
So
What do you
if
think
wanna
about the
feel
art
good
style,
about
FRiCK?
yourself, If you want to feel good about yourself, download Paranautical Activity and
Get past the first room.
Yeah, get past.
It is very rewarding when you do get past a room, that's for sure.
How do you know?
I can't imagine.
He imagines. He assumes it would be
I
very
can't
fun.
imagine how rewarding it would be.
Very, very cool.
Very cool and very legal.
So that was Paranautical Activity, which again is Mike's most successful game and the first game that he created. And tell us a little bit about your game dev studio. What is the name of it, and how did it come about?
It's called Code Avarice, and we might have talked about it a little last time, but it just came about because I just learned how to code when I was in high school, and then just went on to start to make video games because I was like, there's pretty much no reason to code other than to make games. It's like the only cool thing you can do. And yeah, just kind of started making games, and I found an artist named Travis to work with. So I made all the code, he made all the art, we mushed it together, and made it
The
happen.
human connection.
Yeah, that's the whole theme of the whole studio really is that connection, not just that game. It's a recurring theme in all our games.
Well, it's a very fun game again, and highly recommended. And this goes to show again how skilled our instructors are at GameU and how capable they are of teaching you, as they taught us, how to make video games. And it's we're dealing with some very talented individuals. What do you think of the art style of that, FRaCK? I know you're very into the art.
Yeah, I love it. It's very unique. There's different aspects of it. I can tell there's a couple different art styles implemented, and it's really cool. And I know from being his student that he's very good at changing up art styles, which you'll see in his next game. So, without
That was a
further ado,
segue and a
so
half right there. That was
Arkshot.
smooth.
Arkshot.
Yes. So
Arkshot.
without further ado, Arkshot. Why don't you introduce to us Arkshot? Mike, what was the premise of that? It was mostly about multiplayer,
The
right?
human connection and multiplayer.
So even
Yeah,
more
so we
human
wanted to take
connection.
it one step further with the human connection and force you to literally connect to other humans with the internet. But yeah, it's sort of a similar idea to Paranautical Activity from like a moment-to-moment gameplay perspective. Like it's still kind of that old school, lots of fast-paced running around and jumping kind of first-person gameplay. But instead of being in like this big randomly generated game where you have all these levels and you're fighting monsters, now you're just in these smaller maps focused on fighting other players. And the only weapon is a bow and arrow. So Paranautical Activity had like 15 weapons, but Arkshot is super focused on just these really deep bow and arrow mechanics where like how far you draw back the bow changes how far the shots go, and there's different power-ups that change what kind of arrows you shoot and all that kind of stuff. To
I
really
was
just...
saying before, you might have seen that in current games. He was the first one that did it.
Yeah, first person who ever put a bow into a video game.
Absolutely. First time I saw it.
It predates Turok, predates everything. It's
Zelda.
really innovative stuff.
Zelda, everything, yep.
And I have also played this game, and I thought I was getting very, very good at it. I was very proud of myself. So one day I challenged Mike to a game of Arkshot, and he said that he was going to win, and I was skeptical. I thought he would probably win, but I thought it would be close.
You were so innocent.
What is it? What does it go to? 20, right?
I believe that your score ended up being negative in the end, and
Right, but-
I definitely won.
But what is it? What does the kill go to? It goes to 20, I believe. in
For
that
deathmatch, I
category.
think it's 16.
So you won 16 to negative something, and I got negative something because I ended up accidentally killing myself multiple times in the game, and it was
Accidentally.
accidentally.
I drove him to it.
And it was very demoralizing. But again, made me appreciate not only the game development skills of Mike M, but also the
Murdering
gaming
skills.
skills. Yes.
Gaming skills.
So we can look
That's what
up
I said.
we can look up to our instructors at GameU in many ways, and many of them are hardcore gamers as well. So without further ado, let's pull up Arkshot.
I said that 5 minutes ago.
Well, we had a very long intro to do.
There you go.
I also did all the voice acting for this game, which was very fun.
Very deep voice. Very nice.
Yes, very, very dulcet tones.
So you don't miss, do you, Mike?
No, why would I do that? It seems really counter to the point of the game to miss. Oh,
Wow,
what
that was a
great
good shot.
What a beautiful shot.
And does this get old watching yourself just own the AI in video games? Is it?
Hey, these aren't AIs. These are real people.
Oh, right, because it's
I was
about.
playing with the play testers back before the game came out.
And was this the last game they ever played with you?
No, we kept playing for a little while after it came out. You know, I love Arkshot. I wish people still played it so I could boot up a game. That's the one bad thing about making a multiplayer-only game is I can't really play it now because there's no one online.
So there you go. Buy Arkshot and make an online community.
Yeah, buy Arkshot and I will literally play with you. But
I
you
will
probably not have fun because I will murder
play
you.
with you too, and you will have fun. You can
That's
make
fair.
fun of us. You can even make fun of me if you want. I don't care.
So be honest,
buy
Mike, was
Arkshot.
any of that staged, or were those people really that bad at the game?
Oh, they were trying. Some of them were pretty good though. We had some pretty sick people in the playtester group. Some people who give me a run for my money sometimes.
Right. No, absolutely. So, like in many games that people develop, they are inspired by games that they have played perhaps in the past, or draw inspiration from them. Would you say that you drew inspiration in your latest game, and what is it called, and what is it about? Is it about the human connection again? The
I mean, this
ultimate?
is
it
this
the
one's really
pinnacle?
about disconnecting from people.
Yeah,
This is
this
about
one's- yeah.
This one's
after
about
Arkshot, we
ending
were
the
like,
connection.
we've connected too much. Like, what is
Right.
the best way to sever connections?
This is
And
us.
that would be to, murder people at a Christmas party, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much all my game ideas are like, what if X game was a first-person shooter? Like taking like 2D games or non-shooters and turning them into shooters. So like Paranautical Activity is Binding of Isaac in first person. Arkshot is like Towerfall in first person. And then this is like Hotline Miami in first person, which a lot of people thought would be impossible because Hotline Miami is a notoriously fast-paced game, and it's a game where you have like an overhead perspective, so you can see enemies even if they're on the other side of a wall. And so people were like, it'd be impossible to make a game like Hotline Miami where you can't see on the other side of a wall because you wouldn't be able to react fast enough when you
Right.
enter a room. But that's the whole fun of Seasons Beatings is figuring out how to react fast enough when you enter a room. And it's like super, super fast paced. Like a level generally would take less than 20 seconds to beat, but it might take you an hour of practice before you can actually do it.
Right. Now I'm going to turn the volume up a little before we play this because I want them to hear the theme song that goes
The
with
theme
this
song is
trailer.
good. This is not my vocals.
It's
I stepped down as
also-
the voice actor for this one.
Also, it is a little bit bloody if any blood bothers you, but
Yes.
it's not that really. So
Hey, this
It's
is the most
fake.
realistic gore system ever developed for a video game, which actually was
That's-
one of my favorite parts of
that's-
making this game. Was the gore system was really fun to design.
it is really cool looking. Remember, it is a game, but if you don't want to look at it, don't look at it.
Just listen to the song though.
If
because
you
the
want
song
to, yeah,
is
listen to the
The
song.
song is good.
Close your eyes and listen to the song.
Or you could watch the lyrics in the bottom too and just not look at the
And you
gameplay.
can sing along if you really enjoy it. You can sing along because that's the whole point of the sing along.
Yes, it is a sing along. Absolutely very true, FRiCK. So without further ado, this is Seasons Beatings, and let me get it started for you. Very gory.
Music in my head.
By Seasons Meetings, Mike wants a brand new car with the seating heaters and surround sound speakers, so everyone can sing along with Mike in his new Seasons Meetings. Comes with several levels built to challenge your skill. There's dudes with suits inside their rooms for you to quickly kill. Do a blinding jump and throw your gun. The shotgun doesn't pump, so by Seasons Beatings. Over on the home store, the Steam Marketplace, and several more, so there's no excuse to buy Seasons Beatings.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. If we could, we would give you a standing
Awe-inspiring.
ovation on that one. I mean, that was really something. Now that reminds
Are you
me,
gonna bring that joke out every single episode?
probably because it
I
never
hope
gets
so.
old. Yes. It reminds me that games and publishing games, it's really a team effort, and That's what we're about at Game U too. I mean, like Mike said and FRaCK said last
Although
episode with these guys.
ironically, our instructor Mike Molbeck made that game entirely by himself, so that wasn't a team effort.
Yeah, that's the only game I've made that wasn't a team effort.
But it was a team effort because you didn't make that theme song.
That's true. The music was not done
And
by
he
me.
he also did have his fans test it, so. there
Yeah,
was
so
some
if we
teamwork.
count playtesters also, got some really
Yes.
good feedback from playtesters as always. Always an essential part of the process to get people other than me playing the game early so they can tell me what's good and what's bad.
That's awesome.
Because it's hard to tell when you're making the game yourself. You know, you're so close to it, you think all your ideas are great, but sometimes other people have ideas too.
Right, and again, the thing I love about video game design is you look at, making a movie or making a television show or anything with art, making a painting, whatever it is. There is sort of like a one-dimensional aspect, or movies, there are certain things you do within the movie. With video games, you literally need to draw the concepts, you need to write the scripts, you need to make the characters. Everything is hands-on in video game design, and it's really the sort of the pinnacle of creativity in my mind. Would you agree with that, Mike? I mean, there's not much else you can do other than making video games to.
Video games literally involve every art form. Like you have music, you have drawn art, you have sound effects, you have even like things like cinematography comes into play, where if you have cutscenes or just like choosing where the camera goes in a third-person game. It's pretty much any creative discipline, even architecture. I know like most of the level designers I know have degrees in like civil engineering or architecture or that kind of thing, because it's just, it's a legit application of that field to go into video games.
Absolutely, and where is the place that the viewers would learn those skills, FRaCK?
Game U.
They would learn them at Game U, and so we again can't recommend Game U enough, and I'm sure Mike can't recommend Game U enough because he met awesome people like FRaCK and I in the process.
Yeah, and some people that I actually like. So.
But again, Mike, thank you for sharing your games with us and letting us watch your trailers. And we will certainly have to have you on again, because your outlook on the human connection is just way too much to pass up for.
I mean, the real question is what's next for Code Avarice. Where can we go with this connection theme in the future?
Exactly.
Absolutely, but
we've connected, we've disconnected. I mean, what's left?
Yep.
Absolutely. So follow Code Avarice to find out. You might be waiting a little while. You might not be. Who knows? But again, thank you for joining us, Mike. FRaCK, been a pleasure as well, as always. And we will catch you on the next episode of Push to Accelerate. Bye-bye.